President Akufo-Addo has barred government officials from purchasing state vehicles. He made this known at the end of a 3-day retreat for government officials at the Patriarchal Lodge in the Eastern region.
I've put a ban for the time being on the purchase of any new vehicles for members of this government. No matter how dilapidated are the vehicles that are in our fleet, we're going to have to make do with them. These are difficult times for the Ghanaian people, and we should be seen to be acting in respecting that. At the same time, a policy that has worked so far, officials can buy cars, official cars, that policy will no longer work. No official is going to have the opportunity to buy any official car. So that we put an end to it, and we put an end to where are the cars, where are the cars. Nobody is going to have that capacity anymore.
All right, so we're still staying on the story, but I do have in the studio Professor Bafo-Addo. He is a former UN senior governance advisor and also a government expert to give us a lot more insight into this directive given by the president. Good afternoon, and thanks for your time.
Wendy.
First of all, what do you make of this very directive?
Well, I think the president has sounded the right note, and I think we should take it seriously. And I'm so happy he's come out in very precise ways, articulating a concern, not only to him, but to the country at large. You see, this is not the first time a president has made such a statement. Under President John Mahama, a similar statement was made and it was deemed a policy. But we know that at the end of his tenure, what was a policy was flouted everywhere by his appointees.
I was going to come to that.
Right.
What happens? Because we've seen some of these things happen in the past.
Exactly, because they appear to be declaratories. They make declarations without any backing. When the policy is made, it's easier for officials to flout it. So I would strongly suggest that if the president truly means what he said, and I have no reason to doubt his commitment to what he said, I think we as a nation will be better off if the president goes beyond this declaration and seek a legislation to prescribe how officials should behave vis-a-vis these vehicles. And by the way, it's not only ministers and other political appointees. Heads of state institutions, they do go away with their vehicles. Vice chancellors of public universities will wait 6 months to their retirement to buy a brand new Mercedes and go away with it. It's practiced across board. So I believe that since our president is articulating this concern, and former President Mahama did the same, it seems to me there's a meeting of minds between the leaders of the two dominant parties. If that is the case, then why don't they agree through Parliament to pass a legislation that will prescribe this? Otherwise, the president may have said this with all the commitment, the good heart that he has, but in the end, we might see some flouting of these laws as we witnessed at the end of Mahama's administration. So I believe that the president should really go beyond this declaration and see to some kind of legislation that will be binding on public appointees.
Will this save the public purse in any way?
It will in a way, sure. But you see, let's understand that officially, vehicles are used for 5 years. After 5 years, most governments, they will dispose of them because the cost of maintaining old vehicles is very, very prohibitive. So normally, it makes economic sense to dispose of old ones and get new ones. But what is happening in our case is that officials will wait until 6 months to their retirement or end of tenure and go in for a brand new car, knowing that there is a policy that as an occupant of that position, you can go away with that vehicle at a basement price. So in a way, it's been a kind of, I wouldn't say a theft, but it's officially sanctioned cheating of the state by these officials. And everybody knows that is morally wrong. So if that's the case, let us streamline this. Let us make it open. Let's make it competitive. So at the end of 5 years of every vehicle, there should be a central body that auctions it publicly. So it's not just closed to public officials, but all Ghanaians whose taxpayers' money really buy these vehicles. So as I say, I commend the president. I think it's a very wise move. We should all support him. But that support and his own declaration should go beyond just making it a policy and just look for legislation to make it compelling for all public officials.
Now, even talking about opening it up and making it competitive, then early on there were some concerns from some quarters that what about the safety of these government officials and what happens to them, and some arguments that even if an ordinary person goes to buy those vehicles, what about their safety as well?
Safety in terms of the condition of the vehicle? The
condition of these vehicles.
Oh, but we know that normally, after 5 years, cars are still usable. I mean, people import 10-year-old vehicles to this country, they are fine. So I don't think the age is the issue, unless the car has been badly abused by the users of that vehicle. But in case of the government and his vehicles, we know that every 5 years they change vehicles for good reasons, as I indicated earlier. So safety is really not the issue. I think the issue is whether it's appropriate for public officials to leave office and take away with them vehicles at basement prices. They pay, by the way, it's not like gifts. They pay, but if you look at the payment they make, you know that they are just giveaways. So I think we should seriously look at this statement by the president, but as the president, to go beyond the declaration of policy and make it a legislative requirement.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Professor Akufo-Addo. He is a former UN senior governance advisor, as well a governance expert. We were looking at the directive given by the president.